All right, guys, so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about the trunk and thorax rotation. You guys know we test this with seated trunk rotation. I'll have Michelle demonstrate thorax rotation. When we see this restricted, okay, let's say this is under 45 degrees. We know normal on our best players in the world is 50 degrees or more. But if they're less than 45, we definitely have some problems. I think a lot of people just assume, oh, if you can't rotate, it's the spine. But there's a lot more than just the spine and the thorax, right? You've got the spine, you've got the rib cage, and you've got the connective tissue like the fascia. All of those can create problems. And believe it or not, one of the biggest ones is the rib cage. I want to show you a little way to assess that. Go ahead and lay on your back for me for a second, Michelle. So the rib cage is kind of interesting, right? The rib cage expands two different ways. The top of the rib cage goes like this. When you breathe in, it should go this way. We call it the pump handle, like an old water pump handle. You put little pumps. It goes up and forward, like up and back like this. The bottom of the rib cage, we call it the bucket handle, like you're grabbing the handle of a bucket. It goes this way. Right? So as the rib cage fills up with oxygen and air, it expands this way and this way. One of the biggest indicators of trunk rotation restrictions is lack of expansion of the rib cage. Believe it or not, when these joints get restricted, it makes it really hard for you to turn. The way that they don't get restricted is by distraction. Well, how do you distract your rib cage? It's breathing normal. When you breathe normal, you're distracting your rib cage, which actually gives you mobility. So I like to check this. So what I do is I always have my players, and I'll have Michelle do this. I try to just take your fist and put it right on your sternum. And I say, hey, Michelle, forget about like diaphragmatic breathing. I just want you to breathe and get as much air into your lungs as you can as possible. Take a big breath in for me. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking at this hand. And I want to see this hand breathe all the way out. I want to see this hand go up and towards your chin and back down. And watch again. You can see how it elevates. We always say it's like the plane takes off and the plane lands. We're looking for that. So the first thing I look at is, are we getting the pump handle? Next thing I do is I say, Michelle, take your hands on the lower ribs. So we're going on the outside, and I just say, put your hands right here on the outside. And I say, now take a big breath in. And I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just observing. And I say, watch it. Now I should see the hands go this way, right? So there's the bucket handle coming this way. If you don't see some of these, then you potentially, that's one of the reasons that your player might be restricting their shoulder turn, is the ribs aren't moving properly. And maybe if this one might not be the easiest to see, the bucket handle, I think the pump handle is really easy. If you can't see it, I'll show you one last trick. Turn on your side facing the camera for me real quick, Michelle. I do what I call rib CPR. Don't push hard, these are ribs. I just put my hand on the lower rib cage, and I say, Michelle, take a big breath in and lift me up. And I can feel, ooh, she lifted me up pretty high there. Turn towards me, and I'm going to compare right versus left. Sometimes half the ribs might be restricted. The right side might be restricted. The left side might be restricted. Big breath in. She's doing a good job elevating both sides. Sometimes that makes it easier. Remember, don't put a lot of pressure. You're just evaluating. If the rib cage is restricted and your player has a seated trunk rotation restriction, you've got to incorporate big, deep breathing in your exercises. It'll help with their mobility. Thanks, Michelle. You can sit up here. So, guys, that's a great way to be able to evaluate what's creating the restriction and rotation and to see if the thorax is limited from the rib cage. If you want to learn more about this, please check out our medical level 2 and our fitness level 2 tracks. That's where we talk about this in depth.